Welcome back to another episode of the AltAccountant podcast, formerly known as the Art of Advisory. My name is Kirk Bowman from Art of Value, and I'm joined by my co-host, Hector Garcia from Quick Bookkeeping and Accounting. Hi, Hector.
Hey, Kirk. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I thought this week we would tackle the idea that full service is no service. Let me unpack that. So often you find in the accounting and bookkeeping industry, small, even medium to large practices that claim to do everything. They basically say, look, we'll do your taxes, we'll do your payroll, we'll wash the windows, and we even do the kitchen sink, so to speak. Basically, they try to be everything to everybody. And as we have been preparing to teach our first AltAccountant workshop, we've been focusing on positioning. And one of the things that just stood out to me is the idea that full service is no service. That if you try to be everything to everybody, you wind up being nothing to nobody. That you must put a flag in the ground and you must say, this is what I stand for. This is who I serve. What do you think?
No, I think, well, first of all, I think that should be the strategy of everyone to put your stake in the ground, pick your position, and pick the one service that you specialize in, and do that, just that, and don't fall into the trap of full service. But I think it'll be important to know how people end up doing full service, because most accountants, accounting professionals, when they start their business, they don't really foresee all the possible things their customers could ask them for. And so they start their practice thinking, I'm going to serve my clients. And that's principally why they open the business for. I'm going to serve my clients. And whatever my clients ask for, and I do, will in turn be this service. The challenge with that is that if you do that, which is okay, but not necessarily going to help you stand out. But if you do that, you're going to lose the focus on becoming best in class in a specific category and or being seen like everyone else. Unfortunately, most accounting professionals, most accounting firms, and I would say most service firms in general, in order to avoid the fear of missing out revenue, they say yes to everything. And that yes to everything syndrome that becomes that turns your potentially specialized practice into a full service practice is actually very negative. So that's what we'd like to explore today, why it's a negative and why we believe to avoid that at all costs.
Well, and I think we would agree that we're not worried about where you've been. We're just worried about where you're going. Okay. Everybody has to start somewhere. And probably the majority of people do start with this full service mentality. But very quickly, one of the things that a full service mentality leads to is perception as a commodity, which erodes your pricing power. You have no ability to command higher prices because there's no perception that you offer something that nobody else does. That's really, ultimately, at the end of the day, the difference between full service and, I would say, a differentiated service. Full service says we do everything, which means to the customer we do nothing. In other words, we do so many things that I can't differentiate you from anybody. Versus a differentiated service that says, I'm highly specialized, I only serve these customers, I only address this specific need in the marketplace, and I do it so well that nobody else can touch me. In fact, I've seen you do this in your practice recently, right? You've been working on your positioning. Tell me a little bit about that journey, because I remember maybe it was a month or two ago, we kind of did a little bit of live woodshedding on your positioning statement, and you've gotten very laser focused recently. Kind of tell me about that process.
So as a QuickBooks consultant, which at some point in time felt like it was a specialty unto itself, and now it's, there's many QuickBooks consultants out there. My challenge was to stand out even further. Like, I really didn't want anyone to meet me on the street and ask me, what do you do? And I say, QuickBooks consultant, and then I feel that they were able to compare me with someone else. So maybe 10 years ago, saying that did differentiate me from other accountants. So now when people start saying, oh, I have a QuickBooks guy, I also have a QuickBooks consultant, or my accountant does QuickBooks. So when I hear people say that, I no longer feel that that I stand out. So within the realm of QuickBooks consulting, there's many things you can do, but the thing that makes me most love what I do, that I'm most passionate about, it's manufacturing. I just love the businesses that create. I love the concept of helping someone, walking someone through the journey of starting from raw material components all the way to the finished good. And I also love to dispel the notion that pricing comes from the aggregate cost of the components, because what I'm passionate about, which is pricing on professional services, allows me to translate a little bit into the pricing of finished products to manufacturers. So when I started kind of discovering that potential thing I can do for my clients, not just help them to the manufacturing process, but help them understand how pricing and the cost of manufacturing are not tied together, while respecting the fact that we are measuring the cost as a reference, but also focusing on creating a great quality product with a great price. That's the type of company that fulfills me personally and professionally, because it allows me to hit both sides of the stuff that I'm passionate about. So I'm solely communicating. My specialty is manufacturing. Now, I still have tons of clients that don't do any manufacturing. I have tons of leads that come in that are not from manufacturing, but anything that I'm proactively selling, it's only to manufacturing companies. And
I like the fact, I'm going to interrupt you, that you admitted to the fact that, look, it's not like you just woke up today or tomorrow and all of a sudden you only take manufacturing clients, you only have manufacturing clients, but you made a decision. And it's really been a woodshedding process. And I've watched you go through it where you've said, look, the people that I can help the most, the people that I love helping the most, the people that have the best outcomes from me working with them are manufacturing companies, light manufacturing companies in the Midwest, right? And I've even seen where you've gone through and put together a positioning statement, and then you've literally explained why almost every word in that positioning statement, except for some of the, just insignificant words like the word "the," but most of the nouns and verbs in there, you've explained why you picked that one word and why it makes sense. When you pick a position, and I would say you pick a position because you don't want to wait for a position to pick you, because if you wait for a position to pick you, then somebody else has already picked it. An idea you want to be first there, you want to be uniquely there. But you realized, and I know this from visiting with you, that you had developed, let's call it a technological expertise in QuickBooks Enterprise, specializing in inventory problems, right? But you've gone even farther to say, well, I want to work with inventory problems at manufacturing companies. And you would even further to say, I want to do it in manufacturing companies that are in the Midwest. What are some of the things that led you, or how did you kind of narrow it down? We hear the term narrow or niche. How did you drill down into that? What led you through that process?
yeah, I would say 50% of it was orchestrated, and the other 50% of it was, it found me. So on the orchestration part, I like QuickBooks Enterprise a lot. I'm really good at it. So obviously, picking that particular software became natural because I gravitated towards it. Many clients along the way on the manufacturing side started offering me to consult them on other manufacturing software, and I make the conscious decision to say no. If you're not going to use QuickBooks Enterprise, I will send you to another consultant that works with Fishbowl, MySys, Activate, whatever the other software is, and I will completely step away, because I knew that one little gateway drug into another manufacturing software would just get me really deep into it, and it will make me lose my focus on becoming the very best at QuickBooks Enterprise. So orchestrated because I picked it, and orchestrated because I chose to turn down anything that used a different software. In terms of Midwest, which we were also looking for a location to focus on, I'm basically, for that one, I'm looking at the trends. In the past 10 years or so, most American-based manufacturing has moved to the Midwest. So Illinois, Indiana, a little bit of Iowa, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Arkansas, uh, Tennessee, West Virginia. So this sort of Michigan, all this Midwest area has most manufacturing jobs have migrated to. So when I start seeing companies grow in terms of people, I know their problems for running their operation and their problems for keeping track of what everybody's doing become larger and larger and larger, which gives me the opportunity to add value, create some transformation, re-engineer some processes, evaluate what the people are doing into the software or outside the software that then needs to be transcribed. So I was looking at the movement and I'd say, look, I'm going to go ahead and focus on that. Now, if a manufacturing company from California calls me, I would probably serve them. But I'm okay with a California manufacturing company looking at my website, looking at my writing, listening to my podcast, whatever, and they say, oh, he only works in the Midwest. Let me not call him. I'm okay with that because the one that's on the Midwest that hears me says, oh, he's talking to me and just me. So there's enough business on the niche that I'm focusing on, whereas I'm okay with the potential customers from somewhere else that feel alienated in my unique positioning statement. I'm okay with that as long as the ones that are within my positioning statement feel double, as propense to work with me or wanting to work with me or are willing to pay more because they're saying he focuses on me. It's almost like this consultant was put on earth to work with me. So that's why I arrived to that. And to take it one step further, because we're talking about the specialization piece, we started talking about full service. So outside of the specialization fees, I also don't do everything for those manufacturers. So if I do find a customer that has QuickBooks Enterprise, is within the size, it's in the location, it's creating a product that I love, and they start asking me for other things like, oh, can you do our taxes? Or can you do our estate planning? Or can you do our retirement plan? Or can you, whatever. So I would still say no because I focus not to do that. I also focus on narrowing down not just the type of client, but the type of work that I do. And the type of work that I do is helping someone through all the clicks that they do on the computer and interpret the reports they get out of the computer, all within the QuickBooks manufacturing process. And that's where it stops. I don't do anything before that or anything after that. So I have a narrow focus on the type of work that I do, on top of the fact on the type of customer that I'm proactively advertising to.
So my next question, you already began to answer it, which is, okay, we've talked about for your practice, what does it look like to niche down? What does it look like when an accounting/bookkeeping practice says, this is who we're going to serve, and by default, this is who we're not going to serve? And by the way, how do you know you're niching? Is because by deciding who you're going to serve, you're also by the process determining who you're not going to serve, right? If you're not excluding a larger group of people by deciding on who you are going to serve, then you're not niching. You're doing something, but it's not niching. So you described a little bit about the things you don't do. And it occurred to me that by describing the things you don't do, you might be starting through a laundry list of what a full service firm would look like. So let's describe what a quote, and I honestly don't believe there is a full service firm because I believe full service is no service. But for just, website content, if you will, website description, what does a full service firm look like? What is some of the common language you'll see?
Yeah. So some of the common language that you see is things like helping small businesses succeed financially. That when people say that really could mean anything. I mean, that could mean repairing the business owner's credit so they become bankable and they can refinance high debt into low debt. That potentially could mean that. Another thing could be lending them money, right? Renting them money so they have cash flow. That could mean that, right? Something else could be, I'm going to go work inside your company, and like literally as an employee, and then help you sort out all the financial things. It could mean I'm going to help you fire the employees that are costing you too much and helping you find replacements for less. It could mean I'm going to negotiate with your vendors terms and pricing. It could mean so many things. And while there's nothing wrong with that per se, it becomes so much that it becomes nothing when you go to communicate it. So a lot of companies would love to have one vendor that does it all. I think in theory only, right? Like especially some of the bigger companies that have a procurement department, they want to have less vendors because they want to simplify, who they talk to, a single contact, all that stuff. But what the companies really want is they want best in class. And I don't think it's possible to be best in class at everything. I mean, maybe there's a handful of people in the world that are this, prodigy child that can do everything and everything they do it right. But generally speaking, to be really, really good at something is to negate, something else. It's almost like it has to happen. Like they talk about folks that are blind, how their other senses enhance, right? So if you're blind, you smell better, you hear better, and you feel more. Why? Because by removing one of the senses, right, you pay attention to the other ones more. I believe the same thing kind of happens in practice and skill and in business, right? If I am doing all these things to help my small business clients succeed financially, I'm going to do everything really halfway, or I'm going to do enough just to feel that I finished that task. But you're never going to just go narrow, where you can get really, really good. And I think that the most important thing is you want to do something that people would remember and talk about at dinner parties or with their friends, right? I have a great contractor. Maybe some people say it, but I have this great contractor that does outdoor grills, that are both for gas and coal. You should call this guy. That is more likely for people to remember and repeat, right? So that's same thing with the accountant. You have a great accountant. Oh yeah, what makes him so great? Oh, they show up. There's nothing exciting to talk about that. But when they say, I have a great accountant, and they go, well, what's great about him or her? Well, he knows QuickBooks in and out. And if you're in a manufacturing company, he'll blow your mind on how he'll help you identify, problem areas in your inventory system. That's something that people remember. They remember folks that are specialized, and they remember folks that have the discipline and the focus to do one thing and one thing only. I'll give you one more example. I have this guy that was recommended by a friend of mine. I was literally at a dinner party, and I was complaining about my patio door, right, the sliding door, and I was complaining about how hard it is to slide in and out. And he tells me, I got a patio door guy. And I said, okay, I guess that's kind of interesting. Yep, I got a patio door guy. Call this guy. So I call the patio door guy, and he comes in, and he basically just fixes the rollers under the patio door, and that's all he did. Right? It took him 20 minutes, charged me $150, fixed the patio door. My patio door slides super smooth. And then I said, hey, can you fix my screen? He said, no, I don't do screens. Oh, okay. Can you fix my window? He's like, I don't do windows. I said, well, what else do you do? He says, I only do the rollers on patio doors. And I was like, how do you have a business around that? I mean, how do you only do patio door rollers, and that's your only thing you do? And he says, I do like 17 a day. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. 17 a day, $150 a pop. I mean, that's, and I talk about him all the time. I literally go to every one of my friends' house, and I always test the sliding door. I'm waiting for those that like are a little bit hard to say, call my patio door guy, because I'm just so excited to talk about a specialist, because specialists, people that are masters of their craft, attract attention. They just do.
I think you just hit up on something really key. It's fun to talk about a specialist. It's not only fun to talk about them, it's fun to talk to them because they're interesting. They're not boring, right? Full service is boring. Therefore, nobody talks about it. The only time somebody talks about full service is when they have the horrible experience, the no service part of it. Let me give you an example of full service that I think almost anybody can relate to, right? Everybody has high-speed internet now at their home, most likely. And it's also most likely that probably your provider is one of just a handful of companies. Well, as those companies have kind of, merged and consolidated services, they're not only selling high-speed internet, but they're selling phone service that runs over the high-speed internet, and they're selling you TV programming that runs over the high-speed internet. Oh, but they'll also sell you TV programming that'll come to your mobile phone, and on it goes. Well, I get so annoyed when I call their customer service, and all I'm concerned about is, and by the way, I went through a period of this back in the fall where we were trying to troubleshoot an issue. I mean, I'd had high-speed internet with this company for at least 3 years, no issues, and all of a sudden started having issues. And I got frustrated because when I called them to talk about that, they, as part of the customer service call, they wanted to try to sell me TV services. I have no interest. That's not why I called you. In fact, I called you because I had a problem about high-speed internet. You should not be worried about getting my TV business. You should be worried about my internet business. So there's an example. Companies that have gone full service and nobody talks about them because they try to do everything. And the only time you do talk about them is when you get to the no service part. So let's rein that into kind of the accounting side of things. If you're an accountant who tries to do taxes, income, and let's differentiate, income taxes, payroll taxes, tries to do financial statements, tries to specialize in inventory, tries to be a workflow specialist, tries to fill in the blank. What are some other things?
Oh, in the accounting world, well, you got inventory specialists. You have folks that work maybe in nonprofit. You got payroll or payroll for a specific industry. You have taxes. You have a very specific type of taxes. There's some accountants that say we'll do all sorts of taxes, and some say we'll only help you with back taxes. I mean, when someone that has back taxes hears we help with back taxes, it sounds like this person can help them out of a jam. Whereas, yeah, I do taxes. They may not feel 100% that they can help with the back taxes. So, I mean, that's just kind of like even within just a simple word, there's different potential variations.
So just go to your own website if you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, or go to 3 of your peers' websites. And if there's not a lot of difference between your website and your peers, guess what? You're not specialized. And you're suffering from the problem, full service is no service. So hopefully we beat this dead horse a lot, but I really wanted to do it primarily because we're entering, quote, the busiest season of the year for accountants, which is tax season. Except I know some accountants who are not suffering from that because they don't do taxes. Why don't they do taxes? They've decided that's not part of what they offer. That's been part of their narrowing down their specialization, is to say, we're going to let somebody else do the taxes. We're going to be narrower. And it's not, and don't assume it's, we're going to do everything but taxes. No, they've even specialized more than that. Hector, what else would you add?
Yeah, I would just address possibly the biggest elephant in the room, which is generalists tend to either feel that they can get more revenue because they can do more things, or in many cases, they do get more revenue than specialists. That may be a universal truth, by the way. But one thing that I want you to think about when you shop around any services, and I want you to think about this deep, right? Kirk, everybody else listening and watching. Whenever you go to one place to get it all, whether it's a service provider or a store, usually you do that because you want to leverage the size of that basket for price. Yes or no, right? Hey, I bought this for you. How much is it to add this more thing? How much is it to add this more thing? You know what? I'm going to come in and get it all. Give me a good deal on all. So people have either consciously or subconsciously that when they go to a single service provider to get all the services in one shot, they're going to expect a volume discount, right? So although you can potentially get more revenue, per service or per item, you're going to have lower margin. That's a universal truth. Whereas with a specialist, people are buying usually one thing from you. And they also acknowledge that you're the best at it. And because you're the best at it, they're probably getting you because they're in a dire need in that particular specific area, right? So if I have trouble with one area of my accounting, let's say it's inventory or back taxes or sales tax problem. If I have a problem with one area and I'm trying to solve that one area and I'm trying to go for the sure thing, I'm searching them online, which I'm probably going to reach the person that only talks about that. And I'm okay with paying a little bit more, paying just a little bit more, just to get it solved and get it solved fast. I'm going to go with a specialist. So even if you miss out on overall revenue because you can't offer a bigger basket per customer, you are going to get much bigger profit margins, per customer level. And then as you grow your business, you're going to have overall better profitability, even if the revenue is lower. So anything else to add, Kirk, to wrap it up?
I don't think so. I think that's a good place to tie a bow on this one. Just remember, full service is no service. Until next time.
Later, Kirk.